I'm Kevin, and I'm joined by my co-host with Harrison Bader like hair,
Yeah, it's a weird ordeal. Katie is just proving to be childish.
which is why I don't feel I would give $5 million to Jack Campbell.
I don't know. Baseball is one of those sports where anyone who makes the playoffs really can be a contender.
I think the Padres definitely do it.
I don't think Donovan Mitchell gets traded.
Kyrie Irving does have the track record of not being a great locker room fit, or even good locker room fit.
Bader got some luscious locks. I gotta say it.
This is Zach Bigley, the broadcaster for the Frisco Rough Riders, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin. You guys better subscribe.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our quarterback rankings. It is our NFL Opinions of the Week. We've been leading up to this. We've been ranking other positions, which I will reference here a little bit. But I'm Kevin, and then I'm joined by the man with the pigskin, Austin.
That's all this is about, is throwing that pigskin around this episode. Who is the best at it? Who do we want? And Kevin, I say it every time we do one of these videos, but this is always impossible.
Yeah, and this is also impossible because it's really 32, and we're really separating these guys. Tiers are mandatory. Tiers were optional in the other ones, but it's really started with this one last year, and we're continuing. And it's a yearly basis, so a lot of guys have shifted. A lot of guys, the top guys stayed in similar tiers, and things can change. We didn't have Geno Smith on this list. Now I'm pretty sure we both have Geno Smith on this list. How far up? We'll see. But let's get into it. I'll let you start off first.
So before we get into any of the players, Kevin, I'd like to say our tiers first. So for me, my tiers are poor at the bottom, then below average, average, above average, elite, franchise altering, and in their own league. What are your tiers?
I really have poor, and I'm really going to struggle building an offense around them because I viewed this mostly as who am I going to take next year?
Mm-hmm.
And depending on my team, this is all with a good offensive line in my mind. This is basically a draft for me and how I would draft. But poor, I think I would have a poor offense with these guys. Then I have average, which is these guys have some good takes, but it's really difficult. Then I have above average, and then dangerous without weapons, or almost elite, and then I have best in the world.
I'm assuming. Can I take a gander that is one person in best in the world?
It is not one person.
Okay. I also, for the players that were on my list last time, I put a plus or minus to compare them to last year. So I know I didn't ask you to do that, so you didn't have to. But
I have a general idea. A lot of guys fell, and then guys, I'll tell you the guys that moved up. But
so my number 32 is a player that I've been high on for a while, and he had terrible last year until he went to a new team, and now he's on a new team from either where he was last year, and that's Baker Mayfield. Baker showed some great talent with the LA Rams when he actually got a competent offensive coordinator and wasn't with the mess that was the Panthers. And we can agree that was just the head coaching situation was not good there. It was not a good system. And Baker's never really got a chance with a good head coach. And here's to hoping that he can do better with Tampa. But last year I had him at 18. So he is minus 14. He went from 18 to 32. Who's your 32?
It's Baker Mayfield. This was the guy I was afraid. I really didn't want to have too much because I just don't know. I don't really trust him, but he does have some. There are some moments where I could believe in him, but I just don't really want to believe in him. So yeah,
that's fair. You're 31.
And my 31. This guy really hasn't played that much, but I'm really buying into the potential, and that's Trey Lance.
Okay. I did not include him here because of injury concerns. Again, this is for next year. Who would we want? And Trey Lance is, I mean, you have him at 31, so me leaving him off isn't that, he could be
Yeah.
my 33. If I went to 33, he could have been number 33. So we're not that far off. But I just was worried about injuries. My
Yeah,
31
that's
is,
understandable.
yeah. My Teddy Bridgewater is, oh, wow. My 31 is Teddy Bridgewater. I said my Teddy Bridgewater is 31.
Okay.
He was not on my list last year, but I think what he did with Miami into his absence reinvigorated some confidence that when he has good weapons with him on the field, that he can still be a quality quarterback.
Yeah, he's not on my list, but I understand it. He was in there. I think he's pretty good. But I'll let you say you're 30.
So my 30, he fell 11 spots from 19, Jameis Winston. I still have some hope, but again, injuries have kind of derailed what I thought was going to be a comeback year from him, and he did not really get to play all that much. And he still makes some poor decisions. He did not play well in the few games he did play in, but I still am sort of confident that he could become a competent QB of the future.
Yeah, I had Jameis Winston on my list last year. He's not. I also had Andy Dalton. He's not on here anymore. My 30 is Kenny Pickett. I think he's a good quarterback and has some potential, and he can play games. And I trust him a little more than the other two guys. But I'm just not a huge fan of Kenny Pickett.
I definitely have him higher than you because he's, yeah.
Yeah, I figured. I probably have not watched him enough, but he probably has some good moments that I just didn't see. And I don't have as much stats as I would like. That just would have been a pain. That just would have taken time consuming. I will reference some stats when we get higher up, but I couldn't with the wide receiver one. I had yards for most of them. I couldn't do that in a timely manner for this one.
That's fair.
So I'll go into my 29.
Yeah.
This one, call me biased, which I probably am. This guy really hasn't played that much, but I really think he can be a solid starter. I'm not sure if he can be great, but he's still it'd be in a poor offense because he didn't know the ropes that well, and that's Desmond Ridder.
Wow. I'm kind of shocked to hear that, especially with he didn't play great in his time in the league, but it wasn't all that long that he got the opportunity. He does have some weapons on that offense, and he will have the opportunity this year to step it up, and they did assist him in getting him more weapons.
I am rooting for him.
My 29, yeah, it's all good. My 29 is Mike White, who started last year as a backup QB for the Jets. And I think he could be a starter somewhere. He has that energy, he has that ability, and he was better than Zach Wilson whenever he came in. So he's another new guy on my list, the second new one. And these aren't even rookies. Bridgewater or Mike White have fought their way back into what I think are the best 32 QBs in the league.
Mike White's a good name. He's not on my list, but I was sure. I'm forgetting some quarterbacks, but yeah. I'll let you go into your 28.
My 28, a guy that didn't move. He was 28 last year, 28 this year. Jacoby Brissett. I still think Jacoby Brissett is a quality player. I think he should be a starter in this league. He is the second lowest interception percentage ever, Kevin.
Ever. Okay.
Ever. At 1.5%. Number one is Rodgers at 1.4%. But Jacoby Brissett does not turn over the ball, and if you have a good defense, he could lead your team to some wins. That Browns team was not built to win. They had Amari Cooper, they had Nick Chubb, but they had some other issues. Their O-line was hurt. They didn't have many weapons outside of those guys I mentioned. So for him to be able to stay afloat and not be a great team, but also not be a bad team and be very, very competitive a lot of games was very impressive to me.
All right. Jacoby Brissett is on my list. He's a little bit higher, but I'll get to him. But I kind of share the same feelings. He's a good quarterback. He's average. That's why he's not in my poor category. So in my guy at 28 is Anthony Richardson. I think there's going to be a huge learning curve, similar to Desmond Ritter. He got to play a little bit, but Anthony Richardson has potential. And I think it's just going to be moments where I'm like, okay, let's see what you can do. He'll probably have a moment where I'm like, man, this is incredible. And then he'll have a moment where I don't understand what you're doing. So that's my 28.
You're 27.
My 27 is Deshaun Watson. I just didn't really have a good year. There's a lot of issues, and I don't really want to deal with that. And I think he struggled from having a year off or more. And I believe it was a year and more. So that's why he's at 27. I think he would have a poor offense.
Yeah, I that's understandable. I get that. My 27 is Mac Jones. I've really fallen on him. I thought Bailey Zappi played at least equal. And the fact that they fell out of a playoff push with him at the helm really made me sour on him. He went minus 13 from last year to this year. Last year he was 14 and now he is 27. My last QB in poor.
Yeah, he fell for me too. But my 26 is Jacoby Brissett because I don't think he detracts from the team. And I understand someone wanted the potential of Deshaun Watson and Anthony Richardson above him. But I just thought next year I'd rather have him. He'd be stable. Deshaun Watson, Anthony Richardson would be valleys and would be a valley. Going up and down.
Yeah, that's fair. My 26 is a guy that moved from 32 to now 26, so +6. Justin Fields. I was thoroughly impressed by his improvement this past year, but he still has a lot of issues. He's my first QB in below average, which now goes from 26 to 22, and he has some work to do.
You and I disagree greatly on Justin Fields.
I'm not surprised.
So, not surprised?
I'm not.
Okay. Justin Fields does he seem like my type of quarterback?
I mean, you had Ritter on your list, so yeah, probably. You seem like
Okay.
someone that likes running QBs. I mean, you already mentioned that we're out of the era of the pocket passer, as you mentioned in the last episode, which I don't necessarily agree with, but you did mention that, so I'm not necessarily surprised. I'll go on to my 25, though. My 25 is Jimmy Garoppolo. He moved down 4. I still think he's a starting caliber QB, but I'm not totally sold on him since I believe that he was outperformed by Brock Purdy when Purdy came in. So I automatically have Purdy higher than him, which I don't think is all that shocking.
Yeah, I understand that. My 25 is CJ Stroud. I think he will be stable, but there will be moments. I trust him. I like his physical attributes more than Jacoby Brissett, which is something I would take CJ Stroud. And I think they'll give me around the same type of production.
I have him higher than you. But again, he's not your type of QB. He's a pocket passer. CJ Stroud does not run the ball.
I think he has some running though.
He's run the ball very, very, very seldom in college, at least. Okay. That's one of the things. That was one of the big knocks on him was his ability to run the ball because he never would run the ball. I know he ran the ball a little bit against Georgia, but he's not a running QB.
But yeah, I have him lower on this because he's a rookie.
Understandable.
So I want to see the learning curve. But he will probably shoot up next year if he does what I think he does. And so my 24.
Yep.
It's Bryce Young. I think he's more ready than CJ Stroud at this moment. These are two I flip-flop. Young, I think, just has more experience. So I feel I'd take him. He'd be better now in the NFL than I think Stroud will be. But It was really tough. And this is the last of my rookies, just because if Young does what I think he does, he'd probably be higher on this list. But it's just I haven't seen him in the NFL.
Yeah. We're at my only rookie on the board, or in my list. Not the only first-year starter, and we'll get to the other first-year starter. But my 24, CJ Stroud, obviously has to be new to the list because he's a rookie. I'm one player higher because you had him at 25, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have Bryce Young on my mainly because I believe he's going to have to for a year get used to the height aspect, get used to faster linemen, get used to the offense. I'm not all that sold on him at the moment. Again, I've been saying that I believe that CJ Stroud's the best QB in the draft, and I think that holds true.
I think Stroud has a better ceiling. And if I were to do it right now, I would say Stroud would probably have the better career. But I think at the start, Stroud's going to struggle. And I think Bryce Young has something with Alabama and just being used to that type of environment. And he played in the SEC. But you and I aren't too far away on Stroud. I thought you were going to have him around 20 when you first said, you and I. When you first mentioned Stroud, I thought you were going to have him way higher. But we're pretty close.
Yeah, we are close. Is it my 23?
Yes.
My 23 is Jordan Love. I'm high on him. I've watched some of his camp, and I'm impressed. I think that he's learned a lot from Aaron Rodgers. I didn't have him on the list last year, but I think he's learned a lot. I've seen him with the rookie class, and I've seen him with our younger receivers, and he's grown. And I'm excited to see, again, another first-year starter here. I'm excited to see his opportunities and how he performs.
That's who I forgot to put on this list. Jordan Love. We'll see if he bites me. I don't know. He'd probably be in this range, so I understand that. But my 23, this guy did not have a good year, struggled with injuries, but he's above these guys because I think he just has more experience than Bryce Young, and that's Ryan Tannehill.
Okay. You had him at 23?
Yeah.
That's I also have Tannehill higher than Jordan Love. So
Okay. Yeah, and he's had more experience as a play caller, but he's in that average range for me. Jacoby Brissett was the start of my average tier.
okay. Yeah, I don't I have a below average, you don't. So it checks out.
Yeah, I don't really have, because I think all quarterbacks are good. It's just how well can they do in an offense? And I think the guys before, they'd be
I think
relatively poor.
I think it's compared to the rest is why I have a below average. Below average of the top 32.
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, that's my 23 is Tannehill.
Yeah, go on to your 22.
My 22 is Kyler. Kyler's going to be out for most of the year. And even then, this is a guy that really fell for me. He just didn't really have a good year. And he can have some high points, but he can also have some low points. But I think overall he's average.
Yeah, I think what really knocked him down for me as well is the injury. I don't have him as low as you do, but yeah, his injury is definitely something to knock him down by. My 22, I said I had him higher, but barely. Ryan Tannehill. He fell 2 spots from where I had him last year, and I still think he's quality, but he's my last QB in the below average range. So I'm not necessarily surprised by you having him just one below me. So it's really close.
Yeah. We're pretty close on some guys.
Yeah, we're pretty close. The next guy I have, number 21, is Deshaun Watson. I don't remember where you had him, but he's my first
I had him at
QB.
27.
Okay. He's the first QB for me in the average. He did not play well, but I do think this next year he should get better, but I'm not ready to commit for him being as good as he was in the past before all the allegations spread up. So he's the first QB in my average, but that doesn't mean much if he doesn't perform this year.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And he'll probably move up if he gets better. Because before then, I think he was probably top 10.
Easily.
Yeah. Even higher. But now my 21, here's Mac Jones, a little bit higher than you. I think he can be a good game manager, but this year was pretty rough for him. And there are just some other guys that I think are better average than him.
Yeah, that's understandable. He's definitely somebody that he favors from having good players playing with him. So, like the Devontae Parker trade has helped him some, but and all the other moves they're making. So, hopefully they can make some more because I don't think he's anything more than that at this time, at least.
Yes, and when I say average, I think I need a solid wide receiving core. And of course, for the quarterback one, I'm assuming they're all good O-line. I have a good O-line no matter what. But I need a really stout wide receiver core and a solid run game. I can't really rely on my quarterback to compensate for any of these issues when I have an average team. Or average quarterback.
That's understandable.
And this is a guy, I believe it's my 20. This is a guy that I think epitomizes it. It's Jimmy G, 20. Just look at the Niners. Man, I'm just have something in my throat. But when he has good wide receivers like Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, he really can play well, has a good defense, can play fantastic. And I think, but he misses some throws. He's missed one in the Super Bowl, and he's dealing with some injuries. So that's why he's at my 20.
Yeah, my 20 is Kyler. I told you we weren't going to be that far off. His injury definitely moves him much further down the list than I would like. If I was doing this with him fully healthy, he's going to play all year, he'd be in the 14, 15, 16 range. But he falls all the way down to 20 because I'm not that confident that he's going to play all that much this year.
Yeah, he'd probably be in that same range for me. I think he was a guy I was higher on than you last year.
That wouldn't surprise me. Again, he fits your build.
Yeah. And he had a phenomenal year, I think, before that year. I think that was the first year of Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, he did have a great year.
Yeah. And now you're 19.
My 19, a guy that fell the furthest for anybody for me. So the furthest droppers in mine, I've already mentioned two of them. Mac Jones, and then the furthest before this was Baker Mayfield at 14, but now I'm falling 15 spots from number 4 to number 19, Russell Wilson. I am just not confident with him starting right now. And I give a lot of credit to the OCs that were over in Seattle and Pete Carroll's leadership. But if he needs one of the best coaches in the league in order to have a great offense, then I don't necessarily know if I trust him in the biggest moments.
That's fair. I'm a little bit higher than you, but yeah, Wilson's pretty low and it's pretty tough. But my 19 is Daniel Jones. He's a guy, has some running ability, has been able to make some throws, but I just got to see him do it again if he wants to get higher. I think he's above average. In this case, he has some good skills. It's just how does his decision-making work and how are those skills used? I think that's something that an OC can really use to the skills, and that's what I think Brian DeBall did. Or Brian DeBall didn't call plays, but the offensive coordinator really went to the skills of Daniel Jones. So that's something I think you can see, but that's my guy at 19. My turn for 18?
Yeah, you're 18.
Okay. My guy for 18 is Tua. This is a guy who he has some great accuracy. And that can be used, and I thought that was used. But he does struggle with injuries, but I think he'll be better with the concussion. To me, it was just a freak play and wasn't handled correctly. But 18, I think Tua has some pretty solid help, but he does have some great wide receivers. So I think there are some benefits that make him above average.
Yeah. My 18 is Brock Purdy. what he did at the end of last year was remarkable, and the fact that he's going to be back by week 1 or should be back by week 1 definitely forces him to be higher up on my board because he's supposed to play all year, and that is definitely a great thing. I have no reason to believe that he's going to be hurt at all this next season. He has a besides the fluke injury, the UCL tear, which is very unlikely for a QB anyway. I don't think he has any history of injuries in college, so I'm pretty high on him.
All right. I'm pretty close. He's my 17.
Okay, that's my 17 is your favorite player in the league, Kenny Pickett.
Okay.
He's obviously new because I didn't have any rookies last year on my board, but I believe in the Mike Tomlin system. He's never really had a bad QB for him, and I believe Kenny Pickett is average, and that's why he's in my average category.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm just not a huge fan of him. Now, this is my 16th. This guy is a fell. You and I disagreed a lot on him, and that's Matthew Stafford. Really can't trust him injury-wise, but if he's healthy, he's got some arm strengths, and he has some abilities that I like more than the other guys that I could create an offense for and be a pretty good offense.
Makes sense. My number 16 is Daniel Jones. You had him 20? 19?
I was pretty sure you would have him higher than me.
Which is surprising considering he's a running quarterback. Like, that's literally his best ability. But the offense definitely has worked out for him. I don't believe he really had a fair chance before this year. He hadn't had great offensive coordinators or coaches around him, and now he does, and now he's performing. You are right, though. He is 16 because we need to see more from him, but he's the last person in my average category.
Yeah. I'm just not really sure how I trust him with throwing the football and decision making. It's probably the biggest thing for him, but he is a good runner. But yeah, I had a feeling you'd have him higher than me. Then 15, this is a guy, Russell Wilson. I think he can get better. I think it was a really bad year for him. And he has that blend of throwing the ball and running, but he's going to have to show me a lot to get back into the top 10. But I think he has that escapability that he showed earlier on, that I think that's one benefit. And I believe Sean Payton can make some moves.
Yeah, I think Sean Payton will definitely get the most out of him. Maybe not as good as we saw in Seattle, but definitely much better than we witnessed last year. This is 15, right?
Yeah, I just said my 15.
So my 15 is Derek Carr. He fell from number 10 to number 15. This is my first above average, so I believe he's above average. Last year with Devontae Adams, like, he got better talent. I know there was injuries with Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow, but I feel like part of the blame should be placed on him for why that team underperformed last year. He, like Russ, fell.
Okay. I mentioned that Stafford. I've mentioned I'm in the above average territory, correct?
I don't think you did. Where did it start?
It starts with Stafford.
So is that 15 or 16?
It's 16.
Okay. I'll go into
These guys have some really good qualities.
Yeah, above average are guys that you think above average are the quarterbacks that I think you don't need too much to be a playoff contender, but you definitely need more than the elite.
Yes. If I want to make it to the Super Bowl, I have to give them a lot. But if I give them a lot, then they're like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's amazing. Is he a top 5 quarterback?" Blah, blah,
the above
blah.
average is the first category that I think you have a realistic chance of making a Super Bowl, because you can't always make it with an elite QB. We've seen a Joe Flacco, who I believe was above average when he made it, or Jared Goff. I still believe he's above average when he made it. But you're not always going to get the guys that are that elite category. Again, I had Matthew Stafford as above average last year at 9. So again, this is the first category I think you have a realistic chance of making a Super Bowl if you have one of these guys. But yes. Like I said,
and how you build around those guys. Sorry to cut you off.
It's all good. I'll go into my 14.
Yeah, and then I'll say my 14.
That works. My 14, Jared Goff. Just mentioned him. He moved up 2 slots from 16 to 14. What he did with the Lions last year was impressive. Some of that goes to coaching, but obviously he proved that he is still a quality starter. And I when the trade was made, Stafford for Goff, I understood it because Stafford is a more intelligent QB. But Goff has all the talent in the world. And if he can grow that mind, I think he does have a lot of arm talent.
Yeah, you and I feel differently about this guy, but you and I still have him at the same ranking. I have Jared Goff at 14
Understandable.
because I think he had a good OC last year and he had some weapons. I think he can be a pretty good quarterback, and that's why I really view this above average. They're pretty good. I don't know how I feel about them in the playoffs, even though I have Wilson and Stafford, who've both won Super Bowls, and Jared Goff's been to a Super Bowl. There are guys that I have higher that haven't been to Super Bowls, but going into next season, I don't know how I feel how they will perform in the playoffs.
That's understandable. Above average, you always should worry if they're going to falter because you have to increase your productiveness in the playoffs, and we've seen that from some of the best quarterbacks in the league, especially a guy like Brady or Mahomes or Burrow, that their play almost gets better when the lights shine the brightest. Who's your 13?
My 13 is Derek Carr. I really like his throwing ability, and I'm just a huge believer in him. Even though he's not really a runner, he doesn't really fit my mold. I just really like him as a quarterback. And he had a rough year. He's around the same spot. It didn't really change me. He can have bad years and off years. But overall, I think he's pretty good. He's very similar to Jared Goff. I think he's a little bit riskier, but I'm okay with that risk.
Understandable again. I think that Goff and him are very comparable. My 13 is you go.
He's probably a riskier Goff.
Yeah, that's why I had him one spot below.
That's fair.
He makes throws that sometimes he shouldn't make, and that worries me. Also, Carr's had injury issues before, so it's just that something to linger in the back of your mind that could make me get off of him. My 13 is Dak Prescott. Dak had interception issues, but not all of those interceptions were his fault. He has a lot of arm talent, but really what gets him down this low is injuries. And that paired with a lot of interceptions and less productiveness than he's had in the past really moves him down.
Okay, I can understand that. My 12 is Kirk Cousins.
13?
Yeah.
Who's there?
Wait, you have
12.
Kirk Cousins? Do you have Kirk Cousins above Dak?
Yes, but wait, did you say you're 12 yet? I mean, you're 13? What? You said
Yeah,
you're
my
13.
13 is Derek Carr.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah, no. What?
All right,
Yeah,
you're getting
no,
rubbed
we'll
the
get
wrong
to
way
this.
by who was your 12? I'm confused.
My 12 is Kirk Cousins.
Oh, okay.
But I'm just more. Why would you put? I get it. Dak has interception issues, and Kirk Cousins probably threw less interceptions last year.
Probably.
Don't-
Dak led the league in picks.
Dak led the league, but you're seriously for next year, you're gonna pick Kirk Cousins over Dak Prescott.
Did Kirk not prove himself this past season to be a quality quarterback?
He proved to be a quality quarterback. I just would say he had better weapons than Dak.
Weapon.
Yeah, he did. Weapons.
No, I disagree.
Adam Thielen is was better than Michael Gallup last year. Yeah, I feel confident saying that.
You wanna do a stat check with me?
I'm not gonna do stats. I just say Michael Gallup. Took a long time. He's gonna be better this year than Adam Thielen, but I would rather have Adam Thielen last year than Michael Gallup last year.
I guess because of injuries, yeah, that's understandable partially. But the problem with the Vikings offense has really been the fact that if you negate Jefferson, there isn't really a second option, and that was a problem last year. I mean, Jalen Reagor did not play well last year. Adam Thielen had one of his worser years. He didn't play bad. He was fine, but only 716 yards in 17 games is not something to look forward to.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, I just look forward to next year when you have Dak above Kirk.
Finally, I had Dak above Kirk last year.
Okay. So it'll go back to normal. You'll have Dak above Kirk next year.
If Dak doesn't lead the league in picks and gets
He's
hurt,
not going to lead the league in picks.
you
next year.
can't.
Dak's
Okay,
gonna be
a big
on the
part
up
of
and up.
that is the fact that when was the last time Kirk was hurt? And the answer is basically never. And Dak has been hurt notably twice.
That's a
Notably.
good point.
And
But on the field-
and despite the injuries, he still led the league in picks. So, like I said, not all the picks are his fault, but injuries plus less effectiveness, I think Kirk is better.
Yeah, I'm just not on that now.
You don't think there's a tiny bit of bias?
There is a tiny bit of bias, but I'm still not doing it. I'm not, but you also love Kirk.
There's no reason for me to love. I don't have any affection towards him because of a team or because of a moment. I like Kirk because I think he's good, and you don't like Kirk because you think he's not good. So
I don't, but also with the Cowboys are a team where I don't hype them up. So I think it means something that I'm hyping up Dak. But
do you not think it means something that he only played like 12 games and led the league with picks of 15, or the fact that he got hurt and Cooper Rush still led the team to a lot of wins in his absence?
I think he did lead the league in picks, and he did have a problem. I am trusting Dak that he's going to fix that for next year.
But can you
And
fix
Kirk Cousins
injuries?
was on the lower end of I'd be surprised if Dak has another big injury. If he does, then I'll have to alter my opinion of Dak and his ability.
Okay, I guess that's fair. Kirk Cousins was better in almost every stat last year.
Dak and Kirk are in very similar tiers.
Oh no, I had them both in above average. I'm not. They're. We will be getting to Kirk's name very shortly, but
okay. Depending on where Kirk is above Dak, then we'll talk about it.
Okay,
then
we'll go into my 12. We took a detour, but we'll go into my 12. My 12 is Matthew Stafford, another guy that dealt with injuries and while healthy has thrown a lot of picks as well. Dangerous with the ball. I'm not sure how much his heart is in it anymore because of the retirement. Maybe retire, maybe come back. The team around him isn't all that great. He's lost a lot of weapons, and so I have him basically rated the same as Dak.
But you have him above Dak.
Yeah, I had him above Dak last year, and there was nothing for me to change that opinion.
Okay. All right. Okay. We'll see.
I'll go into my 11 though, because you did 12 first, so I'll do 11 first.
Yeah.
My 11, we're here. It's Kirk Cousins plus
Okay.
2.
I'm cool with that.
He's my last
I'm fine
quarterback,
with that.
or no, my second to last quarterback in the above average range. Kirk played well last year. He had 29 touchdowns. He was a quality quarterback. He was better in a lot of the, like when you talk about rating, passer rating. He's better than Dak last year. He played better, in my opinion, than Dak. He is always on the field. He has not missed a game literally has not missed a game injury-wise. So I don't necessarily know if there's a reason, except for I think week 18, not last year, but the year before that when they were 8-8. But that's one game of his entire career that he's missed. So I don't necessarily know if I can trust Dak or Stafford to be on the field, but when I have Kirk, he's going to play. And that is so much more valuable than someone who's consistently injured.
Okay. I take back my aggression towards you. It was too much.
Okay.
Because you have Kirk and Dak close. But now I'm going to use that aggression more towards putting Stafford over Dak.
What did Dak do to pass Stafford? The answer is nothing.
Played more.
By what, 4?
think that's a sizable amount. Okay.
To throw more picks. Just throw the league in picks. Again, I'm not.
Stafford may have thrown more picks. All right.
Who's your
Okay,
11?
I'm cool with. I'm okay with. I'm not approving of your Kirk, but I
Okay.
understand it. I am
Okay.
not understanding and not approving of Stafford.
As you were the Stafford whisperer last year, so I don't necessarily know if that's the best, but who's your 11? Let's continue.
My 11 is Justin Fields.
Your 11 is Justin Fields?
Yes.
How? What did he
Dude,
do last
he's
year?
so good.
Kevin,
is
what in the
fantastic.
world? Kevin, I don't understand this at all.
He's going to put the world on notice this year. Dude, Justin Fields. Because I'm willing to go.
Kevin, he
I
had
can't
multiple
wait.
games throwing less than 100 yards. Like
Because he
is that
doesn't have a wide receiver. Now he does, though. And he also
You're
didn't have a line
calling
last year. So they're like, just
Dar-
run the ball.
You're no wide receiver? No wide receiver.
He didn't get Chase Claypool till the end of until halfway through.
But also Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney was a 1,000-yard receiver the year before.
I'm not a huge fan of Darnell Mooney. As
Literally
your
a
number
1,000-yard
one.
receiver the year before.
Are those passing yards or just yards in general?
Receiving
think
yards.
he's
He had
receiving.
1,000 yards receiving the year before.
I'm not that doesn't. I think that goes to my point, but
Andy Dalton
I'm
started half
excited.
that year.
I still don't think as Darnell Mooney being your wide receiver one is a good going like, dude, look at my wide receiving court. Darnell Mooney is my number one.
And Chase Claypool for half the year. So I don't necessarily know why you could throw under 100 yards for multiple games. Now he has three quality, what I consider quality wide receivers.
Oh, yeah, and that's why I think he's going to be better, and he's going to have a better O-line.
We'll see. I'm not high on Justin Fields.
I am high on Justin. The way we have changed in 3 years, because you were way high on Justin Fields when he came out of college.
I didn't know that he couldn't pass.
Well, because he didn't have an O-line, so I think they were just like, the best way for us to win is to just run when you have the option. That's how I view it. We'll see how it is, but Justin Fields is my 11. I know it's a risk, and I'm willing to pay for it. You're free to make fun of me next year, but I don't think I'll be being made fun of next year in either of the next ones. You already said you're 11, right?
Yeah.
Okay, my 10's Dak.
Dak is a top 10 QB.
He's a borderline top 10 quarterback. I think that's where he is.
I'm just looking at my top 10. I understand the one that's missing from yours. But how is he missing? You just want me to go into my 10?
Who is your 10? Please don't tell me I forgot someone.
Oh, no, I understand why this guy isn't in your top 10. You've already mentioned him way before. It's Tua.
Oh, okay. I can understand that.
Tua played amazing in his absence of even though he had some absences, and I think he is a quality quarterback. He makes great reads. He does not force the ball. I know he had some injury concerns, but I'm trusting that they will fix that heading into this next year, and I don't think he'll ever be led into a situation where he has to go through what he went through last year.
I understand that, and I don't think that's. Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay.
But yeah, that's just not how I feel about Tua. But let's go to my number 9, right? Or your number 9?
It's my number 9. This is my first. There's only 2 in my elite category. The first of which is Geno Smith. Geno Smith, how did you do this? This partially goes into Pete Carroll, but he was so accurate. Led the league in completion percentage. What a season! He led his team to the play. I can't give enough praise. And while I obviously think that the rest are better than him, he thoroughly entrenched himself in the elite category for me.
Okay. My number 9 is Trevor Lawrence. He had some off moments and some great moments. That's why I think I would have him as a top 10, and I think he's going to rebuild he's going to continue to play well. But then I think I'll just go into my 8, which is Geno Smith. He's right at the above average category, could go into my elite category, but my elite category is pretty elite. But he's on the border. So, and I do have him higher than you. So, I think we're on the same page with Geno.
Yeah, considering that my number 8 is Trevor Lawrence, who went
Okay.
plus 17 from last year, where I had him at 25. I can say we're pretty close on some of these top guys.
Yeah. I just know I didn't have him as elite, but he's pretty close. I just need to see him do it again.
I guess you can say the same about Trevor too, so I understand.
Yeah.
My number 7 is Lamar Jackson. He moved 0. I had him at 7 last year. I have him at 7 this year. The only reason why he's not higher than some of these other guys is the concern with injuries. But I think he's in that. There is a jump in ability when you go from 8 to 7, in my opinion. And this is where we're in, like I said, the franchise altering. These next 5 are all in the franchise altering.
I think you and I was going to say the same things you said, because Lamar Jackson is my 7 too.
Okay. I think we make it really close to having the same top 7.
Let's see. This one's probably going to shock you. My 6, Lamar Jackson would be here if he had played more games. My 6, Josh Allen.
My 6, Josh Allen.
Okay. All right.
The only,
by the way, I
again,
do
you
have a
know how
question.
low I am on Josh Allen, but I have to think about this pragmatically. Injuries. And
That's true.
you can't be good if you're not on the field.
Potential's so good though. But yeah, I said this year was a big year for him, and it changed my opinion. He changed my opinion pretty big because I had him at 3. So
Yeah, he moved down for me too. I had him at 5, and he moved down to 6.
Which I think is fair.
It's my number 5.
Now, yeah, you're 5.
My 5, Aaron Rodgers. He fell down three spots.
All right.
But I still think he is in that franchise altering. Put him around great receivers like he has now, and watch him cook. Is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. So Lamar marked the season where I said dangerous without weapons. You and I are not going to agree. My 5 is Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
He's young, but he's a great thrower. But he had some great weapons last year. I have very distinct reasons why I have these guys higher in each pedal as I'll go through them. But he's a fantastic quarterback, and he's the best in the NFC.
Yeah, I just realized. Yeah.
And then
Wow,
Geno
of the top 7, of the top 8 for me, 1 is in the NFC.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Of the top 10 is just
fantastic.
2. Wow, I have Kirk Cousins rated as the 3rd best QB in the NFC.
Above that.
Wow.
All right. Yeah, you're 4.
You're 4.
Oh, my 4 is Justin Herbert. To me, he has better throwing, and he didn't have as much weapons because they were injured. So that's what gives me the edge over Hurts. But it's really tough, and I love the throwing ability of Herbert, and I think that's just going to explode this year.
Okay. My number 4 is Jalen Hurts. Moved plus 13, tied for 4th with the biggest movement. Also, the second biggest plus, the biggest plus was Trevor Lawrence, was plus 17. Hurts played amazing. He's your type of QB. He can run the ball. He can pass the ball. Yes, he had weapons, but every QB needs weapons to make a Super Bowl run like he did. And he played so well in that Super Bowl, it really did impress me. He outplayed Mahomes, in my opinion, because Mahomes was, again, more Andy Reid based than Hurts, who was creating for his own.
Yeah, Hurts was incredible. My 3 is Rodgers, and here's the thing. I'm going vet leadership on this one, that's what gives him the edge for me. But I was very tempted to have him lower, but I just didn't feel comfortable putting Herbert at 3.
Yeah, I was extremely comfortable with that. I think
Yeah,
you
I
kind
had
of
a
knew.
feeling.
Yeah, I think you kind of knew based on previous discussions that this was going to be my top 3, and we can obviously start with Herbert, who moved up 5 spots from 8 to 3. I think he has some of the best arm talent I've seen in the league in a very long time. He's up there with Rodgers when it comes to arm talent, and he has that. He needs to take the next step, but partially is because of coaching and because of injuries. And he's definitely an amazing player. You went 3 first, so I'll go 2 first. My 2 first, because I really wanted 2 to be Mahomes, but I couldn't do it. So Burrow's my number 2. He is
Sweet.
extremely good, but I just couldn't put him above Mahomes. This is my in their own league category. It has 2 players, Burrow, Mahomes. Because you already know my 2, you already know my 1. My 1's Mahomes, who moved up 2 spots from 3.
Yeah, I agree with you. Burrow 2, Mahomes 1. This is my best in the world category. I think they're incredible. Mahomes, I think, just has the edge right now over Burrow. We'll see. But now we'll go. My 3 to me is where there's a drop off and there's a battle, because I can understand someone having Hurts at 3, Herbert, or Rodgers.
Yeah, number 1 and 2 I think are floppable. If you give me a reason, I would understand, because
Yes.
you could argue that Burrow's been playing without an offensive line his entire career, and that if he had a great offensive line like Mahomes had this season, that he would have won that game. And Burrow's done more with less, all this other stuff. But Mahomes has entrenched himself as number 1, and it's going to take a lot for him to move. I also have on the side right here my fell off list. So these are players that were on the list last year that are not on the list this year. One of them is because of retirement, and that's Brady. Brady would have easily been in my top 5, no doubt, if he was still in the league. The number 15, Matt Ryan, who's technically a free agent, also technically signed a deal. I don't know what's happening there, but technically he's not retired, so he's not there. He was my number 15 last year. My number 23, Carson Wentz, is not mentioned. My number 24, Trey Lance, is not mentioned. My number 26, Davis Mills, fell off. Number 27, Zach Wilson. Number 29, Mitch Trubisky. Number 30, Marcus Mariota. Number 31, Taylor Heineke. All fell off.
Yeah. I believe Carson Wentz was my 32 last year, and he fell off.
Got it.
But yeah, no major debates except Dak.
I think there is some.
Oh yeah, and Justin Fields. Justin Fields though, I'm buying into the hype. I'm one of the early hype train passengers on Justin Fields.
We'll see if that pans out.
Yes, we'll see if it pans out. And I do have a question for you. Yeah, I don't think there's anything major things Justin Fields. Where'd you have Jordan Love again?
23.
Okay. And you have Lamar Jackson at 7.
Yes.
So that's a difference of
16.
16. I think a 16 difference in quarterback rating would be worth 2 first-round picks in the deal he got.
No.
I'm willing to do it at 10 for 7.
It's also the issue that this is for next year, not for future, and we don't know what Jordan Love's future looks like. And I'm willing to bet on our growth of QBs because we've done it in the past. To say that we can't do it now is disingenuous, in my opinion.
Okay. So you think in 5 years or less, Jordan Love will be in the top 10?
If it all works out, yeah.
Okay.
If he is what he could be, yes. Top potential, yes.
All right. We'll see. Okay, that's going to be a running bit is Lamar Jackson and Jordan Love for me. And Lamar Jackson and Dak, because I would have done it in a heartbeat. for Lamar Jackson and Dak. I would have swapped them. But yeah, that's all we got. Thank you for listening, and I think we'll have until next year, Austin. I think this was a pretty good round 2.
Yeah, it definitely was. I like looking back on the past and seeing some bad picks, some good picks, and I'm excited for next year.
Me too, and I share the same thoughts. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.